tell you that an auto, that's automatic.
Very nice, very nice. Well, we turn our attention to the San Francisco 49ers, or what's left of them. Nice enough to join us as he does every week. Of course, 49er analyst, NBC Sports Authentic. He does so many things we can't keep up with all the things he's doing. He's got the Quality Hang Pod. Rod Brooks back with us. How are you today, Rod?
I'm getting my robot on from the bumper. Hold on.
You see?
Don't make me start popping and locking in here. Don't make me do it. Don't make me. Ooh. Sorry.
Good. Because I thought you were having a stroke or something. I was getting worried.
Why does it taste like pennies in my mouth? Am I okay?
Yeah, Jay is at his very best on Fridays. Jay's great with the music.
Best, dog. I love it.
Very best on Fridays. Do the 49ers, Rod, need to start scoring lots of points because they can't rely on the defense to carry them anymore?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, they have to, not having Fred Warner and Bosa is huge. They have to find a way to be competent defensively because you just can't. It's not feasible to say, okay, well, the offense has to completely outscore everyone for the Niners to have a chance to win the division, get to the playoffs, and go deep in the playoffs. So the Niners have some things they need to figure out. And hey, man, that's why you brought Robert Saleh back. For situations like this, even if it is an unforeseen emergency situation. But as it stands right now, yes, the Niners offense has to be the tip of the spear. And I got to tell you, we all watched the game on Monday night, and I think we all had the same sort of impressions about Atlanta. Bijan is Bijan, right? He's a stud, okay? I think he's the best running back in the league. And on top of that, he's very good in the pass game. Every pass he catches averages 14 yards. That's how good he is. Drake London is incredible. Penix is incredible. That offensive line is very, very good. That Atlanta defense, number one overall, but it does have a chink in its armor. I'll get to in a second. But we all saw that Atlanta team, and we're like, that's a good squad. But then I start thinking, I'm like, okay, that's a young squad. And they just had an emotional win at home against a good Buffalo Bills team. And my question is, how does this young team handle that success? And we've seen this a lot where a young team is getting a lot of pub that they deserve, a lot of run, people telling them how good they are. Then all of a sudden, they have to find a way to start to get back to work on a short week, cross-country flight, dealing with the Niners opponent that people are saying, y'all should beat them because they are injured. Obviously, this is a Niner opponent that has some fight. And like I said, cross-country flights and back-to-back primetime games. These are waters, and I'm not saying the Falcons can't navigate these waters, but these are waters that the Falcons have never been in before. And with the news that the Falcons have lost for the game, their good young defensive end, Jalen Walker, the Falcons were already number one total defense, but they were 17th in rush defense, giving up over 114 yards per game. They were 20th in rush defense as far as EPA, expected points added, is concerned. That was before the Javon Walker news. So I say all that to say this. I thought the Niners had a chance to win this game going before I got the Javon Walker news today. I think the Niners are absolutely going to win this game on Sunday on the strength of them getting back to running the ball.
Talk about it, Rod.
Yeah. By the way, Rod, say hello to Chris Watkins, who's helping us out today.
What's up, Chris? How you doing, man?
What's up, Rod? How's it going, man? I believe last time we talked was Super Bowl. I knew what you were doing. I saw it. I was like, I saw the vision for sure. And yeah, Jay, I was like, come on, with that music, how could you not get going? Rod, I got a simple question for you. George Kittle obviously seems to be coming back this week. What kind of impact can you expect to have from George, obviously coming off the hamstring injury? Do you kind of expect him to just get it going a little bit, or are you expecting the George Kittle that we know and love?
Well, the big question to me is how much is he going to play? He's healthy enough to play. He's going to play, but he hasn't played in, 5-6 weeks. So to expect for George Kittle to have his full complement of playing time, I think we're reaching in that regard because he is still a human being. That being said, for however much George Kittle is out there, his impact is going to be massive. And like I said, I was feeling good about the Niners running the ball before the Jalen Walker news, pardon me.
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling good about that, just simply on the strength of the Niners getting George Kittle back. Niners run game has been absolutely anemic. They haven't run for over 100 yards since the Seattle game. Obviously, missing Kittle has been a massive, massive part of that. The tight ends they have out there are nowhere near as good of blockers as George Kittle. Niners offensive line, particularly the inside of it, the guts of it, left guard, center, right guard, they've had some issues, to put it kindly, over the last few weeks. And the Niners are bottom 5 in red zone efficiency. You could trace all of that back to not having George Kittle. So, again, I don't know how much he's going to play. I do know he is going to play. And for however much he is out there, the Niners immediately are a better football team as far as running the football is concerned.
Rod, I asked you this question last week, and I'm going to ask you it again because it seems like it's changing again this week. Malik Mustafa, as we've heard, is going to be the constant. He's going to be the safety no matter what. Last week you said Marcus Siegel seemed to be the guy, and he did. He was that guy. I'll ask you again this week. Is it Jair Brown? Is it Siegel? Or is it Pinnock?
It is. It's going to be Jair Brown. Robert Saleh and Kyle Shanahan talked about it. They just feel like Brown is better in coverage, and Brown is just a little bit more stable. Siegel, we talked about this last week. They were going after him, and they were having success, opposing teams, opposing quarterbacks, in going after him. So, hey, man, rookie, talk about deep waters. He's in deep waters. So you have Brown, who has his limitations, for lack of a better way of putting it. But to me, he's the best of the other options. So if you are back solid with Mustafa, I don't think you could go wrong with having a vet and a guy who is solid in coverage, better obviously than Siegel. You can't go wrong with having Brown out there next to Mustafa.
Rod Brooks with us, of course. Rod, there's something about the roster that has left me discombobulated, and I'm hoping you can help me recombobulate a little bit here, and that might be asking too much. But, you've got both your quarterbacks, your starting quarterbacks have been dealing with injuries, and it seems like maybe this is another one of those weeks where it's a matter of, well, this guy's not healthy, but he's healthier than the other guy. Given that that's going on, why haven't the 49ers gone out and gotten a third quarterback, who in some cases would be the backup, who has at least played a snap?
That's a good question. I think more to the point, they feel like they don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Purdy, in their estimation, is not healthy enough to play. And I think, yes, it has to do with his health, but I think it also has to do with the fact, and we've talked about this, that they don't have to make sort of an emergency rash decision because Mac Jones has played so well for the balance of the starts that he's made in Brock Purdy's absence. I think if they were in in sort of a bind, they would have Purdy out there, but they don't have to do that. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, not every situation is going to be where you can get the Cleveland Browns to do something really dumb, like give you Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I know they worked out a few guys a few weeks ago, right? And they didn't really like what they saw.
Yeah, I think, quite frankly, the pickings are slim. Mm-hmm. You have Martinez in the mix. You know what he's good at, you know what he's limited at, but he's the devil, compared to the devil that you don't know. So, while the Niners quarterback situation isn't optimal, because I do think optimal, this is no slide or no shade on Mac Jones whatsoever. I do think the optimal situation is Brock Purdy is healthy and he's making all of the starts. So while the situation for the Niners is not optimal, it's not dire. And I think dire means, oh my God, we got to go out there and get somebody because Mac Jones is more compromised from an injury standpoint than we know or we're letting on. And Brock Purdy's toe is not healing at the rate that they want it to. So I don't think they're in that situation where they have to make that decision. And again, pickings are slim out there because, there's only one Cleveland Browns.
Rod, I'm curious. I think I saw reports that Brandon Ayuk was working out on the field this week. I'm just kind of curious how you see them working him back in. I know pass catcher really hasn't been a problem for them. So do you kind of see them working him back in slow? I know I think John Lynch said the other day they're eyeing week 10 now as his potential return date. Just obviously, with his injury, it doesn't seem like something you would want to rush back.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope and wish that, okay, he's coming back and then you can just play him. Just like just talking about with George Kittle. Even if Ayuk comes back next week, which he's not, but next week, week 10 or whatever, the idea that he comes in and all of a sudden he gets, 50 snaps, something along those lines. I think that's pie in the sky situation, not only because of the severity of the injury, just simply due to the fact that he has not played football in it will be well over a calendar year. But when he does come back, you hope that the Niners have their run game back to where it is contributing. You know what I mean? And it's not subpar, as we talked about earlier. You hope that Kendrick Bourne is still around and he's still providing what he's provided over the last couple of weeks. You hope that Ricky Pearsall is back and he is providing what we saw at the beginning of the season from him. So you can bring in then Brandon Ayuk, and you can bring him along slowly as you're going to have to, but you don't have to completely and totally rely on him. So you could bring him in slowly, and then Ayuk can actually bring himself along slowly, which I know kind of runs counter to how athletes work, because once they get out there, bam, they just want to do it. But again, we're talking about human beings. It doesn't necessarily work out that way. I will say this, though. Where the Niners will benefit from having Brandon Ayuk back, albeit down the road, goes back to what we talked about with the Niners run game. One of the problems with the Niners run game is that the wide receivers are just not as well versed at run blocking as Niner wide receivers in previous years had been. Combine that with Kittle, that's been a problem. You bring Brandon Ayuk back, he's a very good run blocker, whether it's in tight spaces or whether a guy breaks past the line of scrimmage and down the field. Brandon Ayuk is really good with that. Brandon Ayuk comes back, and even in a limited amount of time, he gives you some good run blocking. Maybe that springs a run or two, and maybe that sprung run or two leads to a trip to the red zone or a trip to the end zone. That might be enough to handle the situation where you're trying to figure things out on your defense.
RB joined by Rod Brooks. RB, Fred Warner is officially done. Tatum Bethune is the guy that's going to be replacing him, according to the coaching staff. Does Nick Martin play a role in the season at any point in time in your mind?
I think best case scenario, yes. Right now, no. If he is active on Sunday, and I kind of have a feeling based on information that he is going to be active, but it's going to be special teams.
Gotcha.
He's not coming in. He's not going to be playing linebacker.
Now go ahead and break it. But breaking news. Let me get it ready for you, RB. Go ahead, bro.
No. Hey, it's like that Michael Jordan
exclusive
where he's laughing. He's like, no.
I got you right now, bro.
No. If Martin is active, he's going to play special teams. But the idea of Martin as tantalizingly talented, say that fast 3 times, as he is. The idea that Martin is going to come from being, inactive to bringing him in, all of a sudden he's going to play linebacker at a high level in the NFL right now I think that's folly. But because now the Niners are in the bind without Fred Warner, okay, bring him up, coach him up during the week, bring him up, have him play some special teams, go out there, get some cardio, what have you. And then you bring him along slowly. And the Niners can do that because, and John Lynch has said this. He said to my cohort on Niners pre and post game on NBC Sports Bay Area, the very well respected Mr. Matt Mayoko, is John Lynch said he feels like their linebacker room is the most solid room, the most solid group on the team. And that's not to throw shade at any other position group, but that's how strongly John Lynch feels about this linebacker room. And again, obviously it's been compromised because you don't have Fred Warner, but the overarching point is Tatum Bethune is not Fred Warner, but Tatum Bethune is hostile, mobile, and agile. Right? Fred Warner goes out, He's normally the Niners' leading tackler in the game. Who was the Niners' leading tackler against Tampa? It was Tatum Bethune. They feel really good about D. Winters. Now, D. Winters has had a little bit of a drop over the last few weeks, particularly in pass coverage. But still, you'd rather have D. Winters than not have him. So my point is that the Niners don't have to, we got to rush this Nick Martin guy in, because not only did we spend some high draft capital on him, but we need him to play. Now, you might need him later on down the road, but let him marinate, let him develop. I think you'd be doing a real disservice if you just like, okay, buddy, we're plucking you off of the inactive list, and bam, we're going to throw you in there. Here's the green dot. Good luck to you. Man, opposing quarterbacks would pick him apart if that were the case.
Rod, I bet I know something about Matt Mayoko that you don't know, and I know you work with him every week and you know him very well, but you know what happened to McCorkle before the Ram game when he's looking out the window at the hotel? That actually happened to Matt Mayoko once, and I'm not going to go any further on it than that, but that actually happened to Matt Mayoko once. You could ask him about that.
Well,
yeah.
I will damn sure be asking him about that, because, listen, and I'm going to ask Matt the same question I would ask Mac Jones if I had the chance. Yeah, you saw that body floating out there. Did you have anything to do with that body?
Very good question, Inspector.
Hey, man, listen, I can't be around people like that, dog. I got warrants.
I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned Joe Flacco, and of course last night he was amazing in the Bengals and the white Bengal Tiger uniforms. I love those. But I want to ask you about Aaron Rodgers and the lick that his teammate put on him after they scored a touchdown. If a defensive player had done that, would that have been a legal hit, or would that have been roughing the passer?
I mean, in today's NFL, that's roughing the passer. Yeah, a flag absolutely would have been thrown. A couple of things here. Listen, good for Joe Flacco. I got nothing against Joe Flacco, but everybody's making it seem like, oh my God, can you believe what he did? He did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Find where Jamar Chase is and throw that cat the ball. Right?
Yeah.
So, now, granted, the guy who Flacco replaced didn't necessarily understand that, so maybe, that is a big thing. But Joe Flacco did what he was supposed to do in that regard. But, man, Aaron Rodgers just being a crotchety old dude out there. And by the way, he still play. Like, he threw that Hail Mary ball 70 yards.
Yeah.
All right? So I don't know what designer drugs he's taking, but damn it, they haven't zapped his ability to throw a football. But watching Aaron Rodgers out there with the crow's feet and just being the angry old dude out there with all those young guys, absolutely hilarious.
Rod, I'm just curious too. I mean, looking at this Atlanta squad, I think it's really clear that the first and foremost, the thing the Niners need to do is slow down Bijan Robinson if that's possible. Yeah. How can they do that, especially now with Fred Warner out? It feels like that's as tall of a task as it's ever going to be.
To me, it's the same thing you did against the Rams. The Niners, one time of possession, but more importantly, their scoring drives had plays of, and I'm trying to think about this off the top of my head, 10, 12. They had a 17-play drive that ended up in points. They had, I believe, another 10-play drive that ended in points, and an 8-play drive that ended in points. To me, the best thing for the Niners to do to help out their defense as they try to figure things out is to keep that Falcons offense off the field. And I'm not breaking any news. I'm not saying anything that is, this is not rocket science. But to me, it's pretty clear that the less plays that defense has to make against Bijan Robinson on the ground in the pass game, Drake London. I forgot about Allgeier. He's a good running back too. Obviously, Michael Penix, I mentioned him, that offensive line. The less you have to deal with that Atlanta offense, the better. And just looking at the game that Atlanta lost to Carolina, where they lost 30-0, Carolina had scoring drives where the plays were 9, 10, 9, 9, 7. They scored on all of those drives. If the Niners can get something like that, now obviously Carolina, obviously maybe you guys did or didn't know, but Carolina also had a pick 6 off of Penix. He threw 2 interceptions in that game. Niners, if they get one of those, they're obviously cooking with gas. But to me, if you can do what Carolina did, have 9, 10-play drives that result in points, hopefully touchdowns, but obviously we see the Niners now have a field goal kicker. The Niners will be cooking with gas. So I do think the Niners, and I'm at the point now, I'm just going to say it every week because eventually I'll be right. But I think I'm going to be right this time. The Niners will have a 100-yard rushing game.
Don't say it, Rod. You don't need to say it. Don't say it.
Nope. I'm saying it with my chest. The Niners are going to have a 100-yard rushing game, and the Niners are going to break that streak, which is now sitting at 13 games, going all the way back to last year, of the defense not having an interception. Because now, while Penix has only thrown 3 picks, 2 of them, as I mentioned, in the Carolina game, he had a couple of throws against the Bills that should have been picked off. So he will get a wild hair every now and again. I think the Niners are going to squeeze one. I think they're going to break that streak. I think McCaffrey's going to get off. That run game's going to have over 100 yards, and the Niners win.
RB, what's been the intake on Bryce Huff so far this season inside the 49ers? You're close, and of course you have the opportunity to speak to the staff and hear the inklings of what's going on. How are they looking at Bryce Huff so far this season?
No, they dig him. I mean, he's doing exactly what they wanted him to do. The problem is that he was supposed to do it in concert with Nick Bosa. So now that Bosa's not there, clearly it affects Huff, but it affects everybody on that Niner defensive line. Last week was not a good week in terms of pressures. I believe they only got, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, I want to say they only got about 5 to 7 pressures. I think closer to 7 than 5. Either way, that's just not good enough. Not good enough against Baker Mayfield, wouldn't be good enough against Michael Penix. So as far as Huff, no, he's done the job that they've wanted him to do. But again, the job that they had in mind, him actually doing, was supposed to be on the other side of Nick Bosa. There's no Bosa. Not that you focus all of your energies on Huff, because Michael Williams is a guy that he's commanding a lot of double teams. But Huff's presence gets blunted just because you don't have Bosa on the other side anymore.
All right, Rod, thank you so much. We appreciate your time as always. Have fun. We'll be watching you on the TV, and we'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the game.
All right, fellas. Y'all have a great weekend. Always fun.
Thank you. Hopefully this is the week his prediction comes true on the interception.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
He's got to be right one of these weeks.
I know, right?